Hey, what up, guys? Alright, so as you guys saw within the last video, we were working on registering our users within our database, connecting to our RESTful endpoint, which is set up with Spring Boot. Like I explained in that video, we are remotely connecting to that machine and so forth. So in this video, we're going to work on the sign up activity, where we're going to try and log in the user, and seeing if we can validate whatever the user is inputting within these fields against what is in the database. Now, the first thing we need to do is, just like in the registration video, I forgot to add the sign in button onto the sign in activity. So that's the first thing we're gonna need to do. But there's also a number of things that we need to do, because we need to go back to our Spring Boot project and add the endpoint for logging the users in. So first, let's come here, and then we're gonna say button, right? We're gonna say match parent, and then we're gonna say wrap content. Okay, and then what else? We're gonna say text will be sign in, and then let's just give it some padding, which is going to be about, let's just say 10 dp. 10 dp seems to be a bit small. Let's say 15, still small. Let's say 20, a bit better. Alright, and then what else? Let's just close this off for now. So remember, we have our resource file that we can use, that we created to style our buttons. So we're gonna say background, and then we're gonna say add drawable, and then we're gonna say main, what was it, main btn styling. There's it at the top, and then text font weight is going to be about 700, and then the color is going to be dark royal purple. Alright, and then let's give it a bit of margin at the top. I'm gonna come up here and say margin top, let's just give it 10 dp, should be fine. Let's just reduce that padding to 18, and that's a bit better. Alright, so we have our button, right? And then let's give it an ID, because we need to access it within the Java class. The ID is going to be sign in btn, right? Save, and I think that's it for the front end there. So I'm going to copy this ID. Let's come into the sign in activity. Just remember to the sign up and sign in are similar, right? Right at the top of the class, or within the top of the class, I'm going to say button sign in btn, import class, and then we're going to get the text fields. So let's just make sure. So the email text field has an ID of email, and then the edit text field of password has an ID of password. So that's what we need to get there. So we say edit text, right? This time I'm gonna say et underscore email, and then we're gonna say et underscore password. Otherwise, this naming convention is gonna give us an issue later on. Alright, so now we're gonna come within the onCreate method, right? So on the onCreate method, we're gonna say what is it? Let's start with the text fields. We're gonna say et underscore email, right, equals to find view by ID. So we're going to say r.id dot what is it, email, right? And then the other one is going to be et password, and then it's equals to find view. So it's going to be r.id dot dot password. Okay, then we're going to get the the button. Okay, so it's sign in btn equals to find view, right? It's r.id dot sign in btn. Actually, I copied it so I can paste it. r.id dot, yeah. Okay, so now that we have that, we can come back to the sign up activity, right? That's sign up activity. One of the reasons I'm doing that is because I want to come in here where we get the where we validate the email field and the password field. So I want to copy these two methods that are in here. We don't need to retype everything from scratch. So we're going to come back into the sign in activity. I should have named those better. Maybe let's say register or login. So I'm going to paste this here, right? And then this is going to be, let's start with the email. So it's et underscore email, right? Paste that there, and then let's remove let's copy that, paste it here and here and also here, right? We don't need to have an underscore email because we have that. Copy, paste. So we're just going to do the same validation as we did within our registration or sign up form. Now here we don't need to confirm any password, so I'm going to remove that part there, validate password, and then we can remove this one here as well. What else? We need to remove both of these fields. Alright, so we're going to say et underscore password, okay, let's copy that, paste it there, paste it there, and then let's remove the confirm field, right? And then let's see, we can move that underscore p, right? So that's basically it. Something's missing here. Oh, we're missing a closing bracket. Okay. Okay. So, and then here, let me just add that as well. Okay. Okay. That's it. So the validations are just going to be the same. The email field can't be empty, and then they also have to enter a valid email, and then from there on the password field can't be empty. And so that's pretty much it when it comes to the validations for our objects. And then again, this sign in button here, when we set the on click listener, so let's start with that. right? So we're gonna say sign in button dot set on click listener, then we're gonna say new view on click listener, right? And then this is where we're gonna process the method that's gonna process our form fields. Okay, okay, do the same thing here. Alright, so right below here where it says end of onCreate activity, here we're gonna create the method to log in our user. So I'm gonna say public void and then authenticate user. Alright, same thing that we did within the sign up activity. What we can do is we can copy this if statement here, right? Come in here and then paste it there. So we're gonna remove last name and first name as well, and then here we can change this from confirm to just that. So if there's any errors here, it'll return the errors, otherwise it'll proceed to register our users. So now before we start working, or let's just call this method in any case in here within our application. So we're gonna say authenticate user, right? So the set on click listener will just call this method over here. So now before we start working on this method, we need to go back to our Spring Boot project where we need to send the we need to set up the endpoint that this method is gonna call. So let me just see if I can go back to my team viewer. Alright, so I have I'm currently, again, I'm using TeamViewer to log into that machine where we have our Spring Boot project running. Alright, so now we need to create an endpoint to log in a user. Alright, so I'm gonna stop the server because it's currently running, and let's stop it there. Alright, let me just close that. Then I'm gonna come in to the login API controller. So I'm going to come in here, and then this is where we're going to set that method to log in the user. So we're going to again create a post method, and then this one is just going to say should we say let's just say user and then login, right? What else? And then we're gonna say we're gonna say public and then response entity, right? Let's just say authenticate user. So now we are doing the same thing we did within the registration. This is supposed to return new response entity, right? Let's just say okay. So now here is where we're gonna be. Let's see, there's a number of things that we're gonna do in here. So let me come back to the models. So we only have a user model right now, so let's click on this and say new. We're going to create another one which is called login, because we're going to map this login method as a what you call it, as a response body for when the user logs in. So the first thing we're going to need to do is say private, I think it's string email, and then private string, and then password. Then we just need to add the getters and setters in here. Right, save. Okay, so we can close this. We will get back to this one. So in the user repository, there's a number of methods that we need to add within our user repository. So firstly, we're going to need to get the email, right? So we're going to say list email. Sorry, I think this is a string. Check. Right, and then that's it there. Let's just import this list object. Alright, so we're gonna say add query, and then again I'm using a native query, so the value is going to be select that's the parameter, and then here we need to say native query and say true. I usually forget to do that, and then here we're going to add that parameter and say add param, and then obviously we're going to say email, then it's a string, and then say email. Alright, another query we need to add is for the password. So we're going to say list at query, and then there we're going to say select all from no, why am I saying all? As a password. From users where email equals to, again, email parameter, and then we're gonna say native query true. Check user password by email. Okay, so the parameter obviously is going to be at param and then email, string, then email. Okay, so the other object that we need to add, so basically we're going to check to see if this email is valid. If it is, we're then going to use that very same email to check if the password that the user entered matches the password that the matches the password that's in the database, that's hashed using that email. If all is correct, there's another object that we need to get here. We're going to say at query, right? And then let's see, we're going to say, I'm just checking my notes here. Okay, so we're basically going to say select right. So now let's close that off, and then here we're gonna say add param email. Then again I'm gonna say string and save that. Now we need to add these. We're gonna need to add service methods for these objects that we just did here. So we need to come back to, remember guys, we are in the Spring Boot project, right? Not the Android Studio. So we're gonna come back here. We're gonna say user service, and then here we're gonna say get user, or rather check user email service method. So we're gonna say public, by the way it's list string, and then check let's import this list object. Alright, and then now here we're gonna say return user repository dot, what is this thing doing, dot check user email, and then obviously it's gonna be email, and then we need to add a parameter for that. Okay, and close this off. Alright, so let me cut this and place it here. You're gonna say end of check user by email, and then here we'll say end of register new user. Okay, so now we're gonna check the password, right? You're gonna change that and say check user password by email. Same method is same parameter. The only thing we do is change the method here, and then we're gonna say check by check user password by email, and then that's it. Let's just say okay, and then the next one is going to be public, and then it's going to return a user object, right? And then say get user details by email, right? Then again we're gonna say return user repository dot get user details by email, and then we place in that parameter, and then we're done. So okay, so those are the service methods that we're going to call within our login API. So now remember we created this. Let me close these other what you call properties, windows. Okay, so this is going to return a response object in JSON format, right? So what we need to do here is annotate and say response body, right? Oh no, apologies. So we're gonna post this information, the information from our Android phone as a JSON object, and so we have to then annotate this login object as response body, right? So we're gonna say login, right? So then now what we then need to do is we're gonna say login, right? Oh yeah, sorry, it's request body, not response body. Apologies guys. Let's remove that import. So it's request body, not login, not response body. Okay, so now what we're gonna then do is we're gonna say we're gonna get the user email, right? And then we're gonna say list, and then string, and then say user email, and then we're gonna say user service, oh apologies, we need to import that at the top. Let's say at auto wired, and then we're gonna say user service, and then user service. So now let's say user service dot get, no, it's check user email, and then we're gonna say how we're gonna get this user email. So we're gonna say login dot get email. So that's how we're going to get the email. So remember, when we post that information from our Android application, it's going to come in JSON format, and then here we are annotating this login object as a request body, and so therefore it automatically converts this this login object, and then what it's going to do is we will be able to access that email from that user. So I'll show you now with Postman what it's going to look like. So let's we got the email, right? So here we can say check if email is empty, right? So we're gonna say if user email dot is empty, or is, then now what we're going to do is we're going to come here, copy this, and then here we're going to say let's say email does not exist, right? And then here we're going to say HTTP status, right? But then here we're going to say not found. All right, now otherwise, if everything is in order, we can then move to the next step. Okay, so now if the email exists, we can then now check to see if we can then use that very same email to get the password. So now what we're gonna do is say get user password, right? And then we're gonna say list, and then string, and then user password, right? Actually, yeah, that's what we're gonna do, right? Actually no, first I have to say string and then hashed password equals to user service dot check user password by email. Then we pass in that email, login dot get email, right? Then we're gonna get whatever the, what's this doing? Oh yeah, my apologies guys, I actually made a mistake. This is not supposed to be a list, it's supposed to be a string. So let's remove the object that says check user password by email. So let's say string and then save, right? Then we're gonna have to go back to the user service as well, and come back here and say string, save, and that's pretty much it. My apologies guys, I forgot that we have to get the password by email first, and then save. Okay, so here we're gonna say get hashed user password, save. Okay, so we're gonna get the hashed user password from the database. Then now what we need to do here is validate the user's password. Okay, so I'm gonna say if then we're gonna use the bcrypt object to check this, right? So it's bcrypt.check password, right? So we're gonna get the password that we're getting from the request object or request body dot get the password, right? And then we're gonna validate it against the password that's in the stored password within the database. Okay, then after that, so basically what we're checking is to see if they don't match. If they don't match, we're gonna respond by saying incorrect username or password. Right, so let's say this is going to be bad request, right? Save that. Otherwise, if everything is in order, the user entered the correct password, the correct email and all of that, then here we can get the object. Right, so we're gonna say user import class, right? And then we're gonna say equals to user service dot get user details by email, login dot get email, right? And then this is what we're gonna send back to the user, right? So we're gonna say user, and then we're gonna say http status dot OK, and that's pretty much it. So that's it for our validation or the authentication method, or the post authentication method that we're going to be posting to. Let's add the request mapping here, right? So remember, it's going to be API and then v1, right? And then we're going to say API v1 user and then log in. So let me just see, we can test by first, let's run this project. So again, I'm running the project on my other machine, don't forget that. And then I'm going to open Postman, but I'm going to open it again on the other machine, not on the current host machine. So what I wanted to do is test this endpoint to see if everything is working. So I'm going to use, okay, you see here we made a big mistake, but it's fine. We'll just use John Doe his email address, right? Let's see if the project is running. It's still uploading, I mean it's still processing. So here we can close this. So remember, because this project is running on that local machine, we don't have to say anything else. We can just say localhost and then port, I believe it's 9080, and then we're gonna say API and then v1 and then user and then login, right? And then the parameters, oh, by the way, because it's a it's expecting a JSON response, or a JSON object, we then have to come and say body, and then we're gonna say raw, and then we're gonna change it from text over there to JSON. So from here we're gonna say JSON, and then remember it's expecting an email, which that is going to be the one that we just copied now. Sorry, I think we have to put these in brackets. Do we? Let me see. Email, right? And then paste that there. Yeah, I think we need to put these in closing curly braces. Yeah. And then the other one is going to be password. Alright, the password, if I'm not mistaken, is password 123. So once I send this, it's going to be received by this post method over here, the response entity, and then let me see if the password is correct. We should get here, and then it should return us an object of this user by that email. So I'm going to minimize this and then send it, and let's see if this works out. So let's say send. Alright, so as you can see, we are getting the object back. So it's John Doe, his name, his email, and the password. So that means that what we did there was correct. So I'm going to change the password to say 1234, send it again. So as you can see, it's giving us that error message, incorrect username or password, which is basically it's coming to this particular step here, right? Let's go back to Postman, remove that password. Then I'm gonna say let's just say .gov, right? Let's put in, we're putting in an incorrect email. So let's say send, and then it says email doesn't exist. So again, it's basically hitting this particular step here at the top, right? So let's go back again and let's put in the correct details and say .com, send again, and then it's returning the object that we're getting from the user. So it's basically it passes all these steps, and then it gets to this point here where it returns this user object, which is the user object that we're going to get within our Android application. So because this is working, I think we can end the video here because it's already long enough. So this is the first part of logging the user in. We created the response object, the response entity from our Spring Boot project. So in the next video we should start working on the Android app where we're gonna call towards this particular post mapping, response entity. Alright guys, so that's it for the video. In the next video, like I just said, now we're going to be working within this authenticate user method, where we're going to be calling towards that REST endpoint that we just created now within our Spring Boot project. And then again, I will install the app on my phone, test to see if I can log in, and then otherwise, if there's any issues, we will then attend to it after that. Alright guys, so that's it for the video. Again, if you've liked what you've seen so far, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And again, I'll be seeing you guys within the next video. Thanks again for watching, and cheers for now.